I never thought accessing my husband in our building's elevator would cause our elderly neighbor to faint and create months of awkwardness, but here we are. I'm a 32-year-old accountant in Brooklyn, and this is the story of how one spontaneous moment in a slow elevator turned into building-wide gossip that made me avoid our neighbors for half a year. Mark and I have been married 5 years. We met at work. Both of us were in corporate finance at different companies that shared a building. Met in the lobby elevator actually, which makes this story even more ironic. Started chatting about the terrible elevator music. Turned into coffee. Turned into dating. Got married 2 years later. Moved to Brooklyn 3 years ago into a pre-war building with charm and character and a very old, very slow elevator. That Saturday in November we'd been out late. Dinner party at friend's place in Manhattan. Good food. Good wine. Lots of wine actually. Got home around midnight. Building was quiet. Most neighbors already asleep or at least in their apartments. We walked through the lobby. Called the elevator. It took forever to arrive like it always did. Finally creaked down. Doors opened. We got in. Mark pressed our floor. 7th. The elevator started its slow ascent. These old buildings have elevators that move at glacial pace. Takes almost a minute to go from ground to 7th. We were alone in the small wood-paneled cab. Just us and the dim overhead light and the grinding mechanical sounds. Mark pulled me close. Kissed my neck. I laughed. Told him to behave. He said why? Nobody around. Just us. I kissed him back. The wine made everything feel warm and loose. Inhibitions lowered. We'd been married 5 years. Together 7 total. Comfortable. Easy. Still attracted to each other. Still playful. The kissing got more intense. His hands on my waist. Mine in his hair. I ended up in his lap on the small bench seat. We were making out like teenagers. Hands wandering. Breathing heavy. The elevator continued its slow climb. 4th floor. 5th floor. We had time. Or so we thought. Then the elevator stopped. Not our floor. Somewhere between 5 and 6 based on the indicator. The doors started opening. We froze. Still entangled. Still obviously mid-XXX. Looked up to see who was there. And my heart stopped. Mrs. Green. Our neighbor from the 6th floor. Elderly woman. Maybe 75. Sweet. Conservative. Always dressed nicely. Always polite. Standing there with 2 heavy shopping bags. Staring at us. At me sitting on Mark's lap. At our disheveled clothes. At the obvious situation. Her face went from confusion to shock to horror in about 2 seconds. Her mouth opened. Eyes went wide. She made a small gasping sound. Then her eyes rolled back. She swayed. And collapsed. Right there in the doorway. Bags dropping. Groceries spilling. Her body crumpling to the floor. Mark and I scrambled. I jumped off his lap. We both ran to her. Knelt down. Started calling her name. Mrs. Green. Mrs. Green, can you hear us? She wasn't responding. Just lying there. Eyes closed. Breathing but unconscious. Oh God. She'd fainted. We'd given our elderly neighbor a heart attack. Or a stroke. Or something. She was down because of us. Mark yelled for help, his voice echoing in the hallway. I tried to remember first aid. Check breathing. Check pulse. Both seemed okay, but I wasn't sure. Wasn't trained for this. Wasn't prepared. Other doors started opening. Neighbors emerging. Asking what happened. Seeing Mrs. Green on the floor. Seeing us kneeling over her looking panicked and guilty. Someone called 911. Someone else brought water. Mrs. Green started coming around. Her eyes fluttered. Opened. She looked confused. Looked at all of us standing over her. Tried to sit up. We helped her. Kept asking if she was okay. If she was hurt. She didn't answer. Just looked at me and Mark with this expression. Shock and disappointment and reproach all mixed together. She knew. Remembered what she'd seen. What had caused this? Paramedics arrived. Checked her vitals. Asked what happened. She said she felt dizzy. Fainted. Didn't elaborate. Didn't mention us. Didn't say what she'd seen. But the neighbors were putting pieces together. Whispering. Looking at Mark and me. At our rumpled clothes. At the elevator. Connecting dots. EMT said Mrs. Green seemed okay. Blood pressure a bit high. Probably just shock and exhaustion. Recommended she go to hospital to be sure. She refused. Insisted she was fine. Just needed to lie down. Neighbors helped her to her apartment. We tried to help with the groceries. She wouldn't look at us. Wouldn't speak to us. Just let others assist her while ignoring our existence. Everyone eventually dispersed. Mark and I went to our apartment. Closed the door. Looked at each other. What had we done? We'd been fooling around in the elevator and given our neighbor such a shock she fainted. This was bad. Really bad. Mark tried to laugh it off. Said it was kind of funny. I didn't think it was funny. Thought it was horrible. Mortifying. We'd hurt someone. Scared someone. Because we couldn't keep our hands to ourselves for 60 seconds. Next morning I couldn't face going out. Couldn't face seeing neighbors. Knowing they knew. Knowing they'd witnessed Mrs. Green collapsed and put together why. Mark went to get coffee and came back saying people were definitely talking. Someone had asked him directly what happened in the elevator. He'd deflected. But word was out. Monday the building manager called. Said there'd been a complaint. About inappropriate behavior in the elevator. About disturbing other residents. About potential liability if Mrs. Green decided to pursue legal action. I felt sick. Legal action. For making out in an elevator. In our own building. It seemed extreme, but technically we'd caused harm. Caused her to faint and fall. Could have been seriously hurt. Manager said he had to give us formal warning. Any more complaints and it would go on our rental record. Could affect lease renewal. I apologized profusely. Promised it wouldn't happen again. He seemed embarrassed but had to follow protocol. Hung up feeling like we'd been scolded by a principal. Like we were teenagers instead of married adults in our 30s. That week I took the stairs. 7 flights. Multiple times a day. Couldn't face the elevator. Couldn't face seeing Mrs. Green or other neighbors. Too humiliated. Mark thought I was overreacting. Said it would blow over. But I couldn't let it go. Couldn't forget her face. The way she'd looked at us before fainting. The disappointment. Building resident meeting happened 2 weeks later. Monthly gathering to discuss maintenance and issues. Usually boring. This time felt loaded. Mark and I almost didn't go. But absence would be noticed. Talked about. So we went. Sat in the back. Avoided eye contact. Several residents brought up building security. Cameras in common areas. Including elevators. Someone suggested updating them. Making sure all areas were monitored. Everyone agreed. Looking pointedly at us. Or maybe I imagined it. Maybe paranoia. Either way, message was clear. We'd been inappropriate. Building needed to protect itself from residents like us. Mrs. Green was there. Sitting near the front. Didn't turn around. Didn't acknowledge us. When the meeting ended, she left quickly. Avoiding us deliberately. I wanted to apologize. Wanted to explain. But couldn't approach her. Couldn't make it worse. Weeks passed. Became a month. The acute embarrassment faded slightly. Neighbors stopped whispering when we passed. Or at least were more discreet about it. Life in the building returned to somewhat normal. But the shift had occurred. We were known now. Known as the couple who got caught. Who caused a scene. Who made elderly Mrs. Green faint. I continued taking stairs mostly. Couldn't shake the association. Elevator meant that night. Meant embarrassment. Meant shame. Mark started taking stairs with me for solidarity. Said it was good exercise. We'd joke about it between ourselves. Our elevator ban. Our self-imposed punishment. Gallows humor, but it helped. 3 months post-incident, ran into Mrs. Green at the mailboxes. Unavoidable. We were both checking mail. She looked up. Saw me. For a second I thought she'd leave. But she didn't. Stood her ground. I took a breath. Approached her. Told her I was so sorry. About that night. About scaring her. About everything. She looked at me for a long moment. Then nodded. Said young people these days. Shook her head. But didn't seem angry. Just resigned. Disappointed maybe, but not hostile. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was acknowledgement. A step toward moving past it. 6 months later things were mostly normal. Mrs. Green would nod in passing. Not friendly, but not actively avoiding. Other neighbors had moved on to other gossip. Building life continued. But I was changed. More aware. More careful. Checked elevator before getting affectionate. Waited until we were actually in our apartment. Drew clear boundaries between public and private spaces. Mark still jokes about it sometimes. When we're in an elevator anywhere, he'll raise his eyebrows suggestively. Make a comment. I'll roll my eyes but smile. It's become part of our story. The time we traumatized Mrs. Green. The time we became building legends for wrong reasons. Not how we wanted to be remembered, but the story we got. Year later we still live in that building. Still take that elevator, though I'm more comfortable with it now. Mrs. Green and I have cordial relationship. Not friends but not enemies. She knits. Sometimes leaves scarves for neighbors. Left one for us last Christmas. Small gesture but felt significant. Like true forgiveness. Like moving past that November night finally. The lesson was simple but took time to absorb. Elevators aren't private even when empty. Buildings aren't anonymous even in Brooklyn. Neighbors pay attention. And elderly people can faint when shocked. All things I should have known but learned the hard way. Through experience. Through embarrassment. Through months of taking stairs and avoiding eye contact and living with the knowledge that everyone in our building knew our business. I'm more careful now. About where and when. About who might see or hear or be affected. About considering consequences before acting on impulse. It's made me more restrained maybe. Less spontaneous. But also more thoughtful. More aware that my actions affect others. That a moment of fun for me could be a moment of trauma for someone else. That's worth remembering. Worth carrying forward. Even if it came from the most embarrassing night of my life.